linear, okay? So these are some of the various examples that people have, scientists, researchers have actually discovered. So the first one is on the use of these resources. So a piece of land can be used for a dump, can be used for recreation, can be used for, you can dig up and find what's minerals inside. You can build a shopping mall. You can do all kinds of things with it, right? So obviously, there's scarcity. And because things are scarce, all of us are faced with this problem. We have to try to make the best use of the resources that we have. And the question is, does the environment have the same characteristics as economic goods? Well, if you think about it, there are many demands on the environment, right? So if you look at global warming and climate change, there's nothing really special and unusual for two things. One is that we are using our global commons, the air, right? All of us are using it and exploiting it, and usually for good reasons. We need production, we need consumption. Our cars, we go to office, the shirts that we wear, the spectacles, whatever, right? The activities that we participate, these are clearly also things which are in demand by society. So clearly, we demand the material things, we also demand the non-material things. So we must have trade-offs. And everything that we do, every activity that we do has a price, and that is the opportunity cost concept, right? And so we try to maximize our welfare of society, right? To the best as possible, taking into account of all these opportunity costs of activities, the trade-offs, and we have to choose wisely. So the environment, the question is, to what extent are environmental problems economic problems? That's when you do economics, environmental economics, that's the first question we ask or we tell our students. And to what extent are economic tools can be used to solve these environmental problems? Because if they share the same characteristics, obviously, we can use our economic tools to solve a large proportion of them. Clearly that, of course, economics cannot solve everything. There is the politics that is mentioned, right? There is the science that is mentioned. We are constrained by all these activities. But surely, we can use some of the tools. No such thing as free lunch. We always hear that among, spoken. Simply means that nothing is for free. You come here and attend our talk, means that you forego going to see a show, studying time, leisure time, time with your parents, something has to be given up. Similarly for the environment, right, and climate change. And because we have to understand trade-offs and opportunity costs, that lends a role for this economic tool called costs and benefits. So that's the other subject which I teach, which is understanding what are the costs and benefits of proposal, programs, projects, and so on. And of course, this applies not just to inanimate objects, but also to our daily lives as well, that we think about costs and think about benefits. Many people often forget that there are actually two costs to society, whether in combating global warming and climate change or in any environmental problem. People always tend to focus on the first quantum, which is pollution costs and damages. We don't like all this pollution business because they harm us. We have respiratory problems, we have health problems, we have extreme weathers, we have flood, we have droughts, we have tensions. But people also tend to forget the other side of the cost equation, which is that the cost of controlling and spending resources to combat all this is not free, right? It's costly as well. People have to understand this. You invest in infrastructure to combat the flooding in Orchard Road, it's costly. The funds which can be used for education, the funds can be used for health, have another hospital, have another recreation ground. I'm not taking any sides here. I'm just neutrally presenting to you that there are both sides of the equation. So the second quantum tends to be underestimated. And you look at the media too, we have a lot of attention towards the cost, the impact, the damage side. But they also tend to forget that there are some benefits to climate change. And that's why I'm in favor of looking at net costs rather than just the total cost of climate change and global warming. And some of these benefits As you know, some of the warmer seasons has created more growth of forest cover. They have created productivity increases in crops in Ireland, in Iceland. Sea lanes have been opened up. So who knows what may happen in the future. The opening of sea lanes itself is going to reduce transportation costs around the world, and therefore the carbon emissions should come down as well. So I'm just saying there are also some benefits. Not everything is all cost of the global warming and climate change. So the first two speakers have talked a lot about the science of climate change, the politics of climate change, some of the uncertainties especially was raised by climate change models and so on, right? And this is important, right? We are not saying there's no climate change, there's no global warming. There is. We are all just saying is that there are some uncertainties as to the physical impact. How big are they? Why are they important? They're important because if we know the physical impact very clearly, then we will know how to deal with them in terms of how much the society of any given government ought to spend to invest to combat and control climate change and global warming. So how much to invest in public policies is very much a function of the physical damages as well as the magnitude of these damages. Now, studies like the Stern report, while it is interesting, it's important, yes, it's provocative, but there are a lot of criticisms behind the Stern review as well, primarily not just because of looking at how he treats today's needs versus future needs, but also the question of the choice of the magnitude of the impacts of climate change. There's been a lot of criticisms on that as well. The issue of adaptation and mitigation always comes up. Remember, I'm just selectively giving you a few thoughts. I cannot cover the entire literature in 20 minutes. And the science is very big. The economics literature is also very big in different aspects of climate change. So I'm just giving you some, just some principles and thoughts behind it. Should we adapt or should we mitigate? So in terms of time, people always talk about if you mitigate, you'll take a very long time, very costly. Why not we try to adapt to a warmer world? This has been a lot discussed in the literature as well. I am always speaking about that the reason why Kyoto failed, the reason why multilateral agreements, meetings all fail, there are many reasons. The common and differentiated priorities is, of course, a reason. Many of the developing countries are all in different stages of economic development. So naturally, they care about food, water, shelter, all these things have become more important than first. They have to satisfy all these needs before they move on to the advanced world's needs, right? And then the other needs will come in, including the concern for the environment a little bit more. But there is another thing, which is, I think all these multilateral agreements, meetings, fail in one thing. That is the failure to connect to economics. Right from the very beginning, if you look at Kyoto. I'm in favor of, rather than having a top-down approach, which is that all nations get together, they all agree what should be done, they all agree that there perhaps should be a quota, we should adopt some kind of a schedule reduction in carbon emission and so on. While that is very noble and very good, definitely, but I think a lot of things can be done on the ground, taking into account of different priorities across different nations.